Hi, I'm Joanne Boys, one of the careers advisors at UClan Careers. Welcome to this presentation about the benefits of placements and how to prepare. At the end of this session, we would hope that you could give at least 3 reasons why a placement could be of benefit to a student, and also describe at least 3 ways that a student could prepare for a placement. So, what kind of placements are we talking about? Well, at UCLan, the sort of placements you could do varies massively depending on your course. So we have some essential placements that are an integral part of the course that students must complete in order to complete that course and get that qualification. So things like nursing, for instance, the placement is a really important part of the course. But it could be that the placement is just a short placement as part of your course. It could be that you've to find your own placement. It could be optional. It could be a whole sandwich year where you actually take an extra year to do a placement between the second and third year. You might take the opportunity of doing a summer placement. Could be a year in industry, or it might be volunteering. Now, if your placement is an integral part of the course, often it will be organised for you. So you will be told where you have to go on placement. But many courses would want you to organise your own placement. So it does vary massively. Also, some students take the opportunity to volunteer to get some work experience related to their interests and their future career as well. So in terms of this presentation, I'm covering all of those things and including all of those aspects. Anything that's useful for your future career development. So if you do have the choice about whether or not to do a placement, then you might be thinking about the pros and the cons of doing that. So there is no doubt that any placement will help you in your future job role. Employers do like people who've got graduate level work experience through placements. If it's an optional course, obviously it's got to be your decision about whether or not to do a placement, and it's a very individual thing. There are lots of valid reasons why it might not be appropriate for somebody to do a placement. So it's got to be your decision. But if you are thinking about that possibility, there is no doubt that for courses where it's optional, the students who decide to do placements are definitely usually in the minority. So it will make you stand out to employers that you've got that kind of work experience. It can give you a chance to sort of try out a career before you decide to go into it as a graduate. So some students in the past have said that they were going to apply for graduate schemes in a particular area, and to do a placement first helps them to know whether they're on the right path and whether that's really for them in the long term, so they could do something else if it doesn't suit them. One thing that students say could put them off is that if they're going to do a whole year placement, there is no doubt that it will take them longer to finish their course because obviously they've got that extra year. But placements on those sorts of basis would be paid. So we are not encouraging students to do any kind of long-term work experience that's not a paid placement. If you choose to do some volunteering, say for a charity, then you are doing that based on that voluntary basis. And that's, your decision to commit your time to that. But we wouldn't want somebody to be in an actual work situation without being paid. It definitely can make you more competitive for graduate roles, and it gives you a chance to apply the theory you've learned on your course in practice in the real world. And something else students have said in the past is that it can give them a chance to just live somewhere else for a period of time. So you can go and live in a different city. Sometimes you might be able to go and live in a different country to do a placement. So advantages there as well. Now, you'll probably see some case studies about people doing your course and the sort of placements they've done. This is one example of one of our past students. Lucy is well into her career now, but she says that a placement definitely helped her to get to the level she wanted to be in her first graduate job. If you read the full case study, she tells you about a placement and what she's done in her career after that. And the other thing that really comes forward in what she's saying is that she just really enjoyed the placement. She enjoyed the chance to live somewhere else, do something different, as well as it actually helping her in her career. So we've already said that it helps to get a graduate job if you've got work experience through a placement. So just to tell you a bit more about how it helps you. So the students I meet who've done placements do tend to be more confident than those who haven't. So they've had that experience of being in a professional workplace. They've liaised with colleagues at all level. They've liaised with senior staff. They've taken on responsibilities. They've proven that they've got the skills they need to cut it in a professional graduate level environment. And that is going to give anybody more confidence about what they can do. And that confidence will come across in third year. So students who've done placements sometimes feel that the placements help them to do better in the third year back at university, but it's also going to come across at interviews, assessment centres when they're applying for the graduate roles. It can also enhance their studies by giving them real world examples to work with. Although at UCLan we're very good at helping students to see how what they're learning on their courses translates into the real world, doing that through a job gives you a different aspect. And it also gives you an understanding of the industry that you've worked in firsthand. Rather than reading about it, rather than looking at reports, rather than hearing from other people, you've been there and done it yourself, so you really get that understanding. Placements are aimed at giving you actual experience of graduate level work as well. So although a lot of students at UCLan have part-time jobs, and sometimes they might have actually moved on quite well in those jobs and be like supervisors or, you know, have quite good level jobs just as the casual roles, graduate level work is often different and it can set you apart in giving you more to talk about in your applications and more to talk about at interview. So when I do mock interviews with students who've done placements, they've got so much more to talk about and so many more varied examples to choose from in answering questions at interview. So different examples of how they've demonstrated particular skills, different examples of how they've overcome things. And because if it's a placement that you need to organise yourself, it does take time and effort to do that, and you need to be quite resilient and proactive in doing that. It's a good evidence of commitment to doing that particular job, and that can come across well to employers. Or if it's a placement where you've got to complete quite a lengthy period of time in placement, again, that's evidence of commitment. So if somebody's going to go into a role where they've already done months in that role as a part of the placement, the employer knows that they know what to expect, they know what's involved, and they're ready for that real role. If you want to see more about how work experience can help you in getting a job, there's a link there on Career Edge. So now let's look at preparing for placements. So we're looking at this for three different aspects. So first of all, knowing what the course expects of you. So do you need to find the placement yourself or will it be allocated to you? Are there particular dates for your placement? Do you need to complete any particular documentation about the placement, either afterwards or during the placement in order to meet the needs of your course? If there's a particular assignment or evidence you need to provide, know before you start the placement so you can be looking to gather it. It could be you need to fill in paperwork just to let the university know that you're on placement and doing a sandwich year and where you are, so we know that it fits into your degree and makes sense for the subject that you're studying. It could be that you need to do an assignment at the end of your placement, so look at that carefully before you start so you know what you need to do in order to complete that assignment. And also, although placements tend to go well, things can happen. So make sure you know what to do if there's any problems. So for example, if you were long-term sick or something else happened and you needed to speak to somebody at the university, what's in place in order to make that happen? How do you keep in touch with us, particularly if you were going to be abroad? So all of this information is usually outlined either in your course handbook or on Blackboard. There could be a particular session to tell you about placements, or you might need to speak to the tutor who runs the placements on part of your course. But wherever it is and however it's set up, make sure you know where to find that information so you can refer back to it. So the second part of preparation is know what you want to get out of that experience. So if you've chosen to do a placement and it wasn't an essential part of your course, you'll have probably already thought about this. But think about how you want to make the most of being on placement in order to really give you those benefits in the longer term. So yes, you're going to earn some money. Yes, you'll get an idea of whether you want to be in that sort of environment, but use it as an opportunity to network as well. Use it as a chance to meet people, talk to people, ask them about the industry, ask them about how they got their job, ask them about what employers are looking for in future candidates. Find out everything that you can that'll help you to have more of an advantage of getting your graduate job. And be prepared to make the best impression that you possibly can. Even if you, at some point in your placement, think, I wouldn't want to come back to this place for whatever reason. It could be geographical, it could be you don't like that sort of work, it could be you don't fit in with the culture of the company, but still aim to make a really good impression. It's not uncommon for students on placements to be offered jobs afterwards. So quite a few students in the past have told me that they've got their final graduate job after successfully completing a placement. There's no guarantee of that, obviously. It depends on what subject you're studying, what your area of work is, and things can be very unpredictable. So don't expect that as a guarantee, but it can happen. And even if that doesn't happen for you, you will need somebody to give you a reference at some point. So treat your placement as a potential future employer, or at least as somebody who you'll be coming back to ask to act as a referee for you on future applications. So make that good. So the third aspect of preparation is knowing what employers want, both the placement employer and future employers. So sometimes on placement, the employer will actually set out a series of goals that they want you to meet, or a development program in some way. So make sure you're aware of that so that you can fully embrace all those opportunities. But also be aware of what future employers might want, so you can be looking for opportunities to have evidence that you can do those things and examples for future applications and interviews. So look at adverts for graduate jobs. Even though you're not going to apply yet, know what graduate employers are wanting from you. Look at transferable skills. Check out the job profiles on prospects for a list of skills so you know what you might be needing to provide. Look at the information the placement is providing, see if there's a structure you need to follow. And again, have that commitment to being professional and accountable, using your initiative and giving as good an impression as you can. Think about how you're going to record what you're doing during your placement as well. So there could be some set way that your course wants you to do this while you're on your course, so that your academic staff can check in with what you're doing as well. But if not, and it's left up to you, give some thought to the best way for you. Social media can be a good way of showcasing what you can do if that's appropriate. Do check with the employer first, but things like if you're working in fashion or design, you could show the things you're producing, but it might not be appropriate for everything. So if you're doing work with people directly and there's confidentiality issues, you wouldn't want to put that on social media. Think about whether you're going to do things in a handwritten way, electronically. Think about the timing. Do you need a template? Just decide how you're going to record things to make the most of the opportunities that you're getting, and so that you don't forget afterwards and you've got something to refer back to. Even if it's not part of your formal learning that you need to do to reflect on what you've done, and often it is, it's still valuable to reflect on those experiences. So it's about thinking, what did you do, but also what did you learn from it? And it can be about thinking, well, how would you do things differently in the future? What would you do the same? And so on. And there are different structures, lots and lots of different structures about reflection. If you need to find a structure to help you to reflect, there's one on Career Edge. And also there's a work experience checklist that can be really useful as well to help you make sure you've really made the most of your placement opportunity. This slide gives some links to some other useful resources. So there's a really good list of employability skills on Career Edge, and also a film about finding placements if you are responsible for finding your own. And then the resources from this presentation are all put together on this slide for convenience. You can find all the slides from this on Popular Tools Careers Sessions via Career Edge. Thank you for listening and good luck in your placements.